Haley was 17. She captained the debate team, volunteered at a shelter, and carried a perfect 4.0 GPA. But during her senior year, the pressure began to close in. College applications, family conflict, and social tension. She started having panic attacks and sleepless nights. Parents thought it was normal teen stress. It wasn't. One day she collapsed at school from exhaustion and dehydration. Hospitalization and counseling began her recovery. But her story reveals something important. Teen stress is not the same as adult stress. We all deal with stress, but research shows that adolescents experience it more intensely and with longer lasting consequences than adults. The American Psychological Association reports that teens actually report higher average stress levels than adults, and they're less likely to manage it in healthy ways. Only 30% of teenagers say they handle stress well, compared to 50% of adults. Why? Because the teen brain is still under construction, especially the prefrontal cortex, the part that manages rational thought and emotional regulation. So under stress, their brains fire up the amygdala, or that emotional alarm center, faster and harder, with less of the braking power that adults have. Let's take Malik, a sophomore, who felt constant pressure to match his older siblings' success. So when he got a C in algebra, he wasn't just disappointed, he was actually devastated. He skipped meals, he withdrew from friends, and carried silent shame. His parents thought he was overreacting, which may or may not be true, but when a teacher noticed and referred him to his school counselor, then help was on the way. Now, developmentally, teens are more impulsive, more emotionally intense, and more likely to see each setback as permanent. Dr. Lawrence Steinberg explains that without a fully developed prefrontal cortex, stress can push teens toward risky behavior, substance use, or deep withdrawal. They can overreact. And it's not just behavior, it's biology. Research from Dr. Russell Romeo shows that teens release cortisol, that stress hormone, for longer periods than adults. And prolonged cortisol exposure is linked to memory problems, immune suppression, and higher risk for anxiety and depression. This means that the effects of stress during adolescence can actually echo into adulthood, shaping mental health, resilience, and even physical well-being for years to come. Then there's social media. Adults might scroll casually, but for many teens, online life is their social reality and their measure of self-worth, sadly. A study by Twenge and Campbell found that heavy social media use among teens is tied to higher depressive symptoms and perceived stress. The comparisons are constant: grades, looks, popularity, relationships, 24/7. And unlike adults, teens can't always escape the environments causing that stress. The school systems, family rules, peer dynamics, they all surround them every day. So, are teens more affected by stress than adults? Absolutely. And not because they're necessarily weaker, but because they're still developing the tools that adults take for granted. And quite frankly, adults don't necessarily have that well either. Haley and Malik aren't outliers, they're part of a much larger reality. Teens today face a perfect storm of developmental, social, and environmental pressures, all while trying to figure out who they are. If we want to help, empathy is not enough. We need to model healthy coping skills, so we adults need to make sure we know how to manage our own stress better. We need to create open lines of communication. We need to reduce unnecessary pressure and advocate for systems that support, not overwhelm. We need to help train their mindset. Because when we understand the uniquely powerful and fragile stage of adolescence, we can do more to protect them. We can prepare them to lead. Let's give them the tools today so they can become strong, resilient adults will depend on tomorrow.